Oh, okay, very good. Okay. Oh, you are very welcome.
Mooji, I just got a very brief question, and it's my first time.
Yes, yes.
I'm very grateful for your
Very good.
presence today. I just like to know your opinion about how is it possible to love without getting attached, without attachment?
How is it possible to love without attachment?
Yeah. It's been, I think,
Not
my
easy.
problem all life. And being my 90% of suffering all my life has been.
If the love is mostly coming personally, and if it's only romantic love, if it's mostly been this, then sometimes a lot of trouble come. But the love that is springing out of your being, not out of your becoming and wanting and so on, but a love that is released through your freedom, through your knowing yourself. This one is all-inclusive somehow. It also has the fragrance of a private love and the love you have that has different expressions in it. But you're not bound to any particular expression, you see. And all of them can be satisfied in their own way. But if you're living and the height of your aspiration is only for a partner in a romantic setting, then it's very limited. And the life will bite, and it should bite, because this biting is an opportunity for your greater freedom. You see? Don't let the mind set the stage for your life, because it will always be a limitation. So sometimes while you're on your own, if you are so lucky sometimes, then you can use this opportunity really to deepen your understanding and to come home fully to yourself. So that if you come into relationship, and especially ones which are, because of course, a relationship with a partner is also a very important tool of consciousness, because sometimes this type of relationship is very, very good at exposing some aspects of yourself which other relationships can't do, because it really digs deep into where you are possessive or insecure or depending on something, which other relationships may not be able to really expose that. You see? So sometimes it's, and everyone, you don't have to wait to be perfect to have a relationship. Relationship is there, but also to give some space to discover your full being, who you really are. Because in moving into a relationship with that kind of roundness, that type of wholeness in yourself, you see, then if one is needed, then I don't know, maybe, I don't know if relationships happen out of need. The universe is just a gift sometime also, that you can meet someone and together you bring strength and clarity and insight into each other also. Can be like this. But if you're living just for that, then it will be trouble. When you realize who you are, attachments won't interfere with your relating with other beings. There will be a great freedom. And then the love is really then free to really express itself without expectations, which are such a pain. And that narrowness. Because when you carry that sort of, if you're loving someone out of desperateness, it's such a horrible state for both of you. So when you can come from your freedom, isn't it? And you know that if someone leaves you, you're not going to die, isn't it? Then you really can enjoy. You will not compromise your truth for anyone.
love has become a relevant thing in human life only because human emotion is a strong aspect of being human being. In human life, emotion is a very powerful thing. Even in this day and age, though people think they're very intellectual, even today, their emotions are the strongest aspect. Yes or no? It's the most intense aspect of their life. They claim they're intellectual, but their intellect is never so intense, but their emotions are intense. Maybe not love, maybe not compassion, but maybe anger, maybe irritation. These are all emotions. So emotion is a very important aspect of being human. Now we're only talking about what type of emotion do you want to have? Now do you have a mind? Do you have a mind? Yes. Would you want it to be sharp or dull? Huh? Why? It works better that way, isn't it? Similarly, if you have emotions, do you want to have sweet emotions or bitter emotions? Sweet emotions. It works better that way, isn't it? So love means just that. You have transformed your emotions into sweetness. Now I want to be in love without emotion. That's a very European idea. Love is an emotion. It is the sweetness of your emotion which we are referring to as love. If the same emotion becomes bitter, we call it hate. Usually it is the people whom you love that you hate, isn't it? Some time ago you loved them, now you hate them. You don't hate that man who's just walking on the street, isn't it? Some love should have happened, and now the coin fell another way, and now it's become hate. Yes? So it's just the same coin. If it falls this way, it becomes love, if it falls that way, it becomes hatred. Don't think they're too far away. They're pretty close. One little thing goes wrong, love becomes hate, isn't it? So, how to be in love without emotion? Love is an emotion. Now the choice is only, do you want your emotions to be sweet, pleasant or unpleasant emotions? That's your choice. It's an obvious choice, isn't it? But most people are keeping their emotions bitter most of the time. Bitterness need not necessarily mean they're in active hatred. They're in irritation, they're in agitation. They're in some kind of… Fear is also an emotion, anxiety is an emotion. It is in some level of unpleasantness. If you make your emotions very pleasant, then life will be very pleasant. Even today, most people experience as a moment of love, as the most profound experience of their life. It is not. But they experience it that way because that is the most intense thing they have touched. What that is the deepest dimension of life they have touched is a moment of love. So they raise it to heaven. People are transporting it to heaven. People are talking about divine love. You do not know whether God loves or not. Human beings are capable of love if they're willing. Dog is capable of love. When human beings fail you, you get yourself a dog. If you get a dog, 12-year guaranteed love affair. Yes? Do not underestimate this. You get yourself a dog, every day you come home, what a welcome you get. Your wife, she's no good. One day she's one way, your children, they're not interested whether you come home or go. But your dog, every day, what an excited welcome he gives you. Nobody's capable of this, isn't it? Every day, without fail. He'll never show disinterest in you. is such a boost for you. Dog is love, for sure. Maybe it's just a spelling mistake. Typos can happen. Now, if you made yourself in such a way, nobody around you can love you, then the only succor you have is somebody must love you long distance from there. It's an unfortunate way to live. God loves you, it's the most unfortunate way to live. That means you made yourself in such a way nobody can even look at you. If people around you cannot help loving you, that's a nice way to be, isn't it? You may not be great, maybe at least you're cute. Yes? So, in yoga, we don't look at anything as love, hate, happiness, misery, we don't look at it that way. We just look at it this way. Do you want to be pleasant or unpleasant? If you become pleasant in your body, we call it health. If you become very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call it peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call it love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this bliss. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call it success. So, the other names that you give are just leading to confusion. Should I be loving? You don't have to be loving. Just be pleasant in your body, pleasant in your mind, pleasant in your emotions, pleasant in your energies. You will be a wonderful being. If your emotions are pleasant, if somebody comes here, you can share that pleasantness with them. If your emotions are unpleasant, for sure you share that with people, isn't it? Yes or no? So you cannot do something that you are not. If this is feeling pleasant now, it will naturally be pleasant to everything. If this is feeling unpleasant right now, it will be nasty to everything. So instead of seeing how to make this pleasant, you want to be pleasant to somebody. That is being loving. You don't have to be loving. If everything within you has become pleasant, whatever is needed in that moment, you will do. If you need to say pleasant things, you will say that. If you need to say some hard things, you will say that. But without any unpleasantness in you, that's important, isn't it? If you'll have to fight a war, you'll fight it without any unpleasantness in you, that's important. Then you will do everything only to the extent it's necessary. You will not overdo anything. If you say, I love somebody, you will exaggerate things about the people whom you love. You will exaggerate good things about them. If you say, I hate somebody, you will exaggerate bad things about them. You will never see anything the way it is. People go blind with things that they love, isn't it? They have no sense, they lose all their sense. If they hate also, they'll lose sense. If you like, you will lose sense. If you dislike, you will lose sense. The doorway of life is in being equanimous, that you're able to see everything just the way it is. Now you are pleasant to somebody not because somebody is nice. You're pleasant to somebody because you are pleasant, that's all. This is more guaranteed. It's a more guaranteed love affair, isn't it? You're being pleasant to somebody because you're pleasant. If I'm being pleasant to you because you are nice, tomorrow if you're not so nice, something else will happen, isn't it? If you mortgage your pleasantness to something outside of you, you being pleasant or unpleasant is only by chance. keeping this one pleasant is your business. If this one is pleasant, with whatever it interacts, it will generate pleasantness. Now you have not managed to make this pleasant, you're trying to be pleasant to somebody. And that is subject to so many things. If you have to be pleasant, they have to be fixed the way you want them. And that's not possible. Nobody can be fixed the way you want them. You're not able to do that even with one person, isn't it? You cannot even fix one person the way you want them, forget about the whole world. The more you try this, the more bitterness and unpleasantness will happen. That is why in the so-called most intimate relationships, maximum amount of unpleasantness happens. So this is because you're trying to do something that you're not. You're trying to be loving when you're not pleasant. When you're feeling bitter, you try to be loving and see it'll destroy you, isn't it? Yes or no? You tried all these things, isn't it? It's destructive. When you're feeling pleasant, it is effortless. So, you just have to look at why is it you being pleasant or unpleasant is mortgaged to external situations. If everybody around me is unpleasant, how can I be pleasant? Especially if everybody around you is unpleasant, it's all the more important that you're pleasant, isn't it? Yes or no? If everybody around you is in a mess, is it not all the more important that you're pleasant? If everybody around you is unhealthy, is it not very important at least you're healthy, even if you want to take care of them? Is there any logic to everybody is unhealthy, so let me also get sick? What is the logic behind this? So if people around you are unpleasant, it becomes even more important that you're pleasant.
Sadhguru, how can a person stay committed to someone in a relationship? Is it natural to love someone and yet be sexually attracted to others? What should be the proper course of action that should follow, or how does one handle this?
See, there is a psychological integrity, there is emotional integrity, but there is a biological integrity also. Integrity does not mean morality. Integrity means you create a situation where it works best for you. So when we say integrity, suppose I say, there is a certain integrity to my body, this means it's strong and resistant to a whole lot of things, isn't it? It doesn't mean I'm morally stuck in something. So I'm talking about… I want you to understand the word integrity in that context. We're talking about integrity in terms of strength of this life. So if that is the thing, is it true? Do you remember how your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother 10 generations ago looked like? Do you remember? No. But her nose is sitting on your face. Yes or no? Body remembers, isn't it? Body remembers your forefathers 1,000,000 years ago. Yes or no? So what you're calling as my body is a heap of memory, isn't it so?
Yes.
Memory or no? See, now from Nepal you came to Shillong, you eat a lot of this Meghalaya food, your features won't change because your body remembers what is your genetics, no matter what. Or you start eating, let's say, cow's food or dog's food, your body will not get confused and become a dog or a cow because there is evolutionary memory in this. Do what you want, it never gets confused, isn't it? You start thinking I'm a dog and start barking like one, still the body won't change. Yes or no? Mentally you can, but body has such a deep-rooted memory. So this entire body, what you have, is essentially a certain integrity of memory. If that loses that memory integrity, then you will see it will become vulnerable to so many things. Now, the nature of the body is such that anything that you touch with a certain level of involvement will naturally absorb that memory. Not mentally, physically it'll absorb that memory. Traditionally in this culture we call this runanubandha. You heard of such a word? Runanubandha. What this means is physical memory that you gather. Why people, you will see this with people, let's say in their home, they will go and sit in one place. This will usually the older people you will see, they want to go and sit in the same place. They won't sit in another place. Have you noticed this? Even your dog, he comes, if he wants to sit here, he'll smell this, he'll smell that, he'll smell that, he'll smell that. And after much searching, he will settle down in that particular place. Next time you chase him somewhere, he comes, he goes and sits in the same place. Because there is memory. Today there is forensic equipment where you're sitting here right now, you went away. After 2, 3, 8 hours, if they come, not with a dog can easily do it. But with forensic equipment, we come here and just check this chair and we know it was you who was sitting here, not somebody else. So there is memory. Wherever you sit, stand, whatever you touch, there is memory and transaction happening all the time. Well, you come from Nepal, in India also it's very much there, in south is very strongly there, north maybe it's become weakened. People never give salt to another person. Do you know this? Here also? If somebody gives you salt, you say, please keep it there. Because there are certain materials which transmit memory much better than others. Salt, sesame seeds, lemons, like this, if you give traditional people, they'll say, keep it there, I will take it. Because they don't want to develop runanubandha with you. Now, in India, if you see older generation of people, if you try to shake their hands, they'll do like this, because they don't want to get runanubandha with you. Because the idea is to keep the integrity of your body's memory in such a way that it doesn't become vulnerable to other things, that you become a very integrated life. If you want to nurture yourself to be a certain possibility, then you have to maintain the memory integrity. This is what runanubandha means. You keep your physical memory to the minimum. A sexual interaction is something where a huge amount of memory is taken from one to the other. So always, not in this society, everywhere else, forever people saw the advantage of keeping that memory to the minimal. If you make that memory very complex, you will see to be at ease will become very difficult after some time. There will be pleasure, but there will be no joy in your life. You can observe people, don't go by what I'm saying. You can observe people, they will have pleasure, they will giggle all the time, but you look at them, there is no joy in them, there's no ease. Because the ease will go away with excessive memory. This is not only with sexuality, there are many other things that you do like this. Right now you see this very much in the Western societies. Wherever I go, especially in America, people will come, Sadhguru, where is my hug? I say, it must be with you. Why is it with me? It is not like at a certain moment when you feel close to somebody, you hug them. It's like all the time you have to touch people. Because today's psychiatrists are analyzing these things and saying that is because they have not been sufficiently touched by their mothers and parents at an early age. When they grow up, they're desperately longing to touch somebody all the time. All these things have a serious impact on one's life. How much physical contact when the child is born, this will determine how much physical contact they will long for later on. And the memory of what an infant picks up from the mother at that time, because till a child becomes 4.5 years of age, in many ways, energy-wise, it's not a separate life. It's still attached to the mother's body. Actually, if by nature if people go till then, they must be drinking the mother's milk and connected up to 4.5 years, that's how naturally it was. So, the energy doesn't mature. At that time, more and more memory that you get from the mother is better and better to strengthen this. But once the child begins to move out and becomes an individual, life is organizing itself. People come to me and say, Sadhguru, can you bless my daughter, can you bless my son? First thing I ask is, how old? If they say 15, 16, 18, all right. If they're over 21, I say no. Because me blessing you, blessing will not go to your child. You may still think emotionally that's my child, but as far as life is concerned, it's become fully separate. Generally, the course of life is considered to be approximately 84 years or 1008 cycles of the moon. The cycles of the moon and our body is very directly connected. Only because our mother's bodies were in sync with the cycles of the moon, we are born, otherwise we wouldn't be born, isn't it? Hello? So, a full life is considered 1008 cycles of the moon, which will approximately considered as 83 to 84 years. So if one crosses 84, it's considered a full life. In this, the first quarter is the only time when it is connected to parentage. After that, the child must move, because energy-wise, you cannot connect those two lives anymore. So that is when the longing, if you have not created enough integrity within yourself, the longing for another body multiplies. Even though the hormonal phase may be higher between 15 to 20, the longing to bind and bond with somebody increases after 21 years of age, because unknowingly you're like a satellite who fell off the main mother. You come off the motherboard. Now you want to attach to something unless you find some integrity. This is why between 12 and 18, one must do lot of sadhana to strengthen the body, so that you don't desperately bind yourself to something or somebody. You must consciously, if you wish to take a partner, it must be a conscious process. If it's a compulsive process, then you will pay the price for it. This is not a question of morality. It is not that this is sin, that is sin. The question is, what is your priority in your life? If your priority is to make this life rise to a higher possibility, then you must be conscious. If you want to somehow live and go, it's okay.
We all want companionship. We all want sexual relationship, a biological necessity. Or also we want somebody on whom we can rely, in whom we can find security, in whom there is a sense of comfort, support. Because most of us cannot stand alone on our own feet. Therefore we say, I must marry or have a friend, girl, whatever it is. I must have somebody with whom I can be at home. We are never at home with anybody, because we are living in our own thoughts, in our own problems, our own ambitions and so on. And we are frightened to stand alone. Because life is very lonely. Life is very, very complex, troublesome. And one needs somebody with whom you can talk things over. And also, when you marry, you have sexual relationships, children and so on. So, in this relationship between man and woman, there is always, if there is no love, you use her and she uses you. You exploit her and she exploits you. That's a fact. So, the questioner says, or should one marry? And what is the physical relationship between man? Don't you question? It's up to you, sirs. But to really enter into this whole complex problem of living together, not only with two people, living together with humanity, with your neighbor, with your boss, with your servant, if you have a servant, with your father, mother, children, to live together is a very complex thing. Living together as a family gives you certain security, certain safety. And so you extend that family to a group, to a community, to a state, to a nation, and from a nation which is opposed to another nation, and so there is always division and conflict and war. So one has to find out how to live with another without any conflict, without any sense of struggle, adaptation, adjustment. That requires a great deal of intelligence, integrity. But we just marry off because sexual, biological demands and so on.